Phil Siddell makes knives. The craftsman, based in Somerset, gives us his 3 top tips for buying a knife, what to look for in a blade, a tang, and what kind of steel. Let's start with tang.
So tang is the part of the knife that's in the handle. There's broadly two kinds of tang. There's a through tang, where the steel is cut out in the shape of the handle, and then the handle scales are sandwiched to either side. And then a stick tang, which lives within the handle timber itself. My preference is a stick tang, which is unusual. The UK market is very focused on through tangs, but people often question the strength of a stick tang. But if you look at sword construction, they're all stick tangs, and a swords are going to go through a lot of abuse. My preference is generally based on the fact that there's only one joint in a stick tang, which is around here, and any moisture that gets in can get in there, but on a through tang it can get in all the way around. Having said that, if you're going to look after your knife, either way is a good solution.
Phil has strong views about blades as well, and especially edge geometry. Look out, you might be about to learn something.
It's the shape of the edge, so all knives are a wedge shape of some kind. They're almost a wedge of cheese shape, so it's the way the blade slopes down towards the edge is the edge geometry. Where you can have the hollow ground, which is like your classic cutthroat razor. So the hollow ground is almost on the arc of a circle, that the bevels are ground, but you can imagine that's very thin and quite flexible. And if you hit bone when you're dressing a deer or something like that, it's very likely to chip out. So what I'm always looking for when I grind my knives is a nice flat bevel that slopes gradually down from the spine to the edge. But also a key thing for me is thickness at the edge. A lot of production knives tend to be getting up towards a millimetre thick, and then they're sharpened after that, which makes it quite difficult for the end user to sharpen it, but also you imagine you're creating a lot more friction. It's more like an axe shape. So I like to grind down as thin as I can before I put final sharpening on it. It makes a knife that cuts very efficiently. If you gently grip the spine of the knife and run your fingers down like that, it'll feel quite lumpy at the edge. So you're looking for a nice gradual bevel that peters into nothing really.
Last and by no means least, what steel is best for knives?
There's an idea that the British understand steel. Well, I think back a couple of 100 years when we were doing a lot of work with actually smelting steel ourselves, we probably did have an understanding. Things have moved on quite a lot now, and metallurgy is extremely scientific. It's a very closely controlled process. There's a huge variety of steels now, and while there are some that I would have a preference for, there's such a variety that it's difficult to find what I would term a bad steel. For a knife maker like me who's working on small batch, I think it's sensible to have 2 or 3 steels that you rely on and well, and you've had good reports from customers about. So I tend to stick to either a simple carbon steel, which takes a bit more looking after. It will rust, but to me that's part of the attraction. If you leave your shotgun out in the rain, it will rust. So looking after a small knife is not a lot more work. I use a couple of stainless steels because obviously there are people who don't want to have to maintain a knife nowadays. Damascus steel in the past, 1,000 years ago, was about refining steel. Nowadays it is purely aesthetic, which is fine. It really adds something to a knife. But yeah, we are talking about the looks rather than the capability.
You should now be fully armed and ready to buy the knife of your dreams. And if you want one from Phil, you can find him on Instagram.